I think entrepreneurship is overrated. So I'm not going to tell anyone, yo, go be a tech entrepreneur. So my name's Alex Fefegha, I'm 23, and I'm a co-founder of Comuzi. And so Comuzi is an experimental research lab, and we essentially work with mostly tech organizations to basically explore emerging technologies and create like cool shit out of them. Basically growing up, I kind of thought my life was either gonna go three ways. It was either I was gonna play football, I was gonna make it as a centre half. If that doesn't work, I was gonna go be a sports psychologist or a strength and conditioning coach. Or I thought maybe doing something in the creative industries. And so I got kicked out of college in like first year of college. And so, you know, obviously coming from a predominantly African home, my grandparents were kind of like big on like, yo, you need to sort something out. And in my head, I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna go college back again and basically redo it. And so what happened is that I was on the internet applying for apprenticeships. And this is when the apprenticeship scheme first started. So it's like 2010, 2011. And so I found like an apprenticeship to be like a front-end developer and like web designer. And I didn't even understand what these things were at the time. I just knew that I used tech, I liked tech, I played games, and I thought, okay, cool, and then we go for it. So I went to go do the apprenticeship, and for like 3 months, I didn't get paid. It was one of those dodgy companies. But it was like my first exposure of like Old Street, my first exposure of like Shoreditch, like all these different tech hubs. And then so, because I didn't get paid for 3 months, I essentially left, went back to college, did my A-levels, and then essentially decided, I was thinking to myself, I'm going to study creative computing in uni. And so what happens is that I have two other friends who are now my co-founders, Richard and Akil. And Richard was studying multimedia technology in uni. And we used to sit down and we used to have ideas all the time about different tech ideas that we can pursue and stuff. And we felt, okay, cool, let's try to essentially build a record label. So that was like our key goal. And we're like, oh shit, we need to fund the record label. So it was like, okay, cool, let's make websites to fund the record label. And so we just started off making interactive websites online. And then the record label was flopping. It flopped. It basically flopped. Like I lost quite a bit of money from that. And then essentially what happened one day was that it was freshers week of about to go to uni, had no girlfriend, had no mortgage, had no child. So that was like our 3 words. And so I got an email saying on the same day, like, come to Barcelona, we want you here. So I woke up in the morning, ended up in Barcelona in the evening, and then essentially started talking about how the music industry can work with the tech industry to sort of create experiences that fans would appreciate. And then from there, everything kicked off. But I think the proudest work that we've ever created was called Visit Health, and that's like an online GP platform, which allowed patients and doctors to communicate with each other for the comfort of their home. And that kind of stemmed because my grandparents are very important to me, and they're sort of chronic patients of the NHS. And so there was this one experience where my grandfather, he normally gets picked up by like a minibus to go to the hospital in the morning. And my grandfather was somebody who, he walks very slow. And so the minibus has left him, and like he was proper distraught. And so in my head, I was thinking to myself, like, look, I work in tech, I'm getting all these opportunities, and essentially I'm trying to use tech to do like maybe music industry stuff or like stuff for businesses. But how can I use technology for good? Or how can I use it to actually create impact that was kind of justifiable? And so, you know, I spoke to Akil and I said to Akil, bro, I've got this idea, you know, why don't we basically sort of find a way on how we can bring the hospital to the home? That was like our goal. And so Akil was like, okay, cool. If he's gonna call up 20 hospitals and he can convince them about this idea, we'll go in and create it. And so he did that, and like 5 were like, yeah, this sounds cool, we're really interested. I went on the internet and I typed in NHS meetup and essentially saw that it was an NHS meetup. So I actually went there that same day. And then I walked into the director of innovation at the NHS and I was like, yo, I've got this idea and I feel like it can transform the NHS. He was very open to the idea. That opened up loads of doors for us. We helped launch the NHS program, which is the Clinical Entrepreneur Program, which essentially doctors or nurses or medical staff can essentially set up their own businesses and the NHS will support that. And that was like a very big thing for us because that's kind of driven our goal for that kind of like set out this whole outline for what we want to do, which is essentially trying to use technology for good, trying to use technology for impact, like real actual impact. And so for like the last 5 years, Jeff's been running like Comuzi with Akil, and then Richard is more behind the scenes, like the operations sort of non-executive director, making sure the business actually stays a business. We've got a team of 4. We're doing some really cool work right now. If things go to plan, we'll possibly grow. But we've been growing slowly, and we've been learning about how to build a business and actually how to make money. And that's kind of been a key thing for us.